All right, g'day everyone. I've got Rachel Vaughan, who I don't think we've done a public video for quite a while, probably since the early in the year. So we're going to get on, do a bit of a different chat today, and because Rachel's just come off, I think what you've done consecutive courses yourself,
Yeah.
which is what is it, spiritual development? But anyway, psychic development. So I want to get you on and talk about that because you came on to myself and Madeline's Sky to Earth conference, and the feedback we got from the group was just amazing, and it blew me away. So basically, you did a presentation on portals, and
Yeah.
what's always fascinated me with you is just like you and me when we send the odd picture to each other, and you will always pick up crazy fine detail that I never would. And to give an example, actually, yesterday I was editing a video, and I didn't even know I put a picture into the video, and I spoke about my hotel room was 721, and then I put a picture into the video because I saw the 7 on it, and then I watched the video back after I posted it, and I didn't realize there's a 7, there's a 21 in there, and I'm like, oh no way, like. So, but these are the little things that you just have an amazing eye for detail, and I guess being able to bridge the gap between the seen and the unseen. So I don't think we need to do an intro, but so let's start with, can you tell us about your course,
Cool.
your course coming up and what you do?
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks, Dale. I really appreciate you doing this as well. So basically, obviously people would know me more for talking about my sort of satanic ritual abuse background and the abuse I had as a child. I also had training under MK Ultra. I think maybe that's a reason partly why I pick up on things that other people might not, because I had all this incredible, horrible, but full-on training as a child to pick up on things under duress. But also, I think it's actually to do with the psychic ability on both sides of my family. So, and as we've discussed, I have central heterochromia, which is a particular eye color that even the Nazis were.
I was going to ask you about that later, but
absolutely fascinated with. So, but you don't have to have central heterochromia, and central heterochromia is where you have a different color around the outside of the iris than you do around the pupil. So it's not quite hazel colored. Hazel eyes can be, say green with a bunch of speckles in it. Central heterochromia has literally got a ring of 2 different colors or more different colors in the eye.
Can you say that word again?
Heterochromia.
Heterochromia.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I don't know if that's the reason why I pick up on these things as well, but it could be. I know that obviously the Nazis were fascinated enough that they were experimenting on people with this for a reason. And that's all some research that was shared to me by a dear friend of mine, Doug McIntyre, who's he's just amazing with what he looks into and what he's been able to find out. So I've noticed about 10 years ago when I would go out in nature, and I've been doing that for a long time because that's the way I recharge. So I've been doing readings for people for 20 years, and in order to recharge, I need to go out and be in nature or go out in the ocean, something along those lines, to get the beautiful negative ions that come off the mycelium in nature and all the plants and the ocean. And while I was photographing, I was noticing these roundness in circles in nature, which is really unusual. You don't get circles in nature.
When was this when you started noticing this?
It was about 10 years ago. So it was about 2013.
Okay.
And it started to become more and more apparent. And what really made me notice was I would go and take photographs. I'd come home, I'd look at my photographs, and I would see faces in nature. So some people call it the green man, and there's all these different sort of folklore, and people see fairies and all those sorts of things. I would see these faces, and I would almost always see that where these apparitions or faces would come up in nature, made up of leaves and twigs and things, there would be these circular sort of shapes in the landscape as well. And over those 10 years, I finally came to the understanding that these circles, these tunnels in nature, are actually ley lines or energy lines. Where they cross over, where you get multiple of these ley lines, you end up with a portal, so that it amplifies the energy and ends up with a much bigger space that's actually got this incredible energy. It's 5th dimensional, and it's like, these ley lines are like, it's like having a hallway in your house, and there's all these doors to all the other different dimensions that come off it. Now, this is obviously ancient knowledge that's been known for millennia, but then suddenly, you know, people kind of lost that information. Like there's an amazing book that I'm reading now. I've only just come across it. A guy called Alfred Watkins, who's like the expert on this stuff. And he wrote his book in 1925, was published in 25. So he also was noticing he had some vision. It's in the preface of the book. He doesn't speak about it in the book, but someone who wrote the preface said that he had a vision. He was standing up on this hill and saw all these ley lines. I think that a lot of seers in history have seen them visually, but it's only, you know, it sort of got hidden from general knowledge, because there are people who have co-opted those ley lines and those portals to do dodgy things. So, and just to sort of give an example, you've got these monolithic sites like the Washington Monument, the Vatican, the Oracle of Delphi, Stonehenge. And if you actually look at those places, they've got rings around them. And the ring is the marking out of the portal where all the ley lines cross over.
What do you
So
mean?
basically,
What do you mean they got rings around them?
they've literally got rings around them. I'll show you. I'll share the screen.
Now, I just got to stop you from one bit. Like,
sure.
I just got to tell people this will blow your absolute mind, right? Because like I understood ley lines to a certain extent, but to me they're invisible, right? You can't see them. This is a way, like when you see this, you can see them. And since you showed me, I've had people just posting Instagram stories. Someone posted one up in Cairns the other week. Now, you know the big Pyramid Hill just outside of Cairns. I can't remember what it's called.
No, because I don't travel, but yeah, I know
Right,
about it now.
I'll send you pictures, but they say this is like an ancient monument, right? And there's beautiful waterfalls up there. Someone posted a picture and I went, holy shit, you're on a portal. I can see. And for me, I think this is more evident at the time, because you were sharing these with me a while ago and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I can't see it, but like, I trust you, like, whatever. Like, you're on a portal. I'm like, I can't fucking see no portal. And then once you showed me, it's like it's been brought into the conscious, and I'm like, oh my, I haven't been able to see it in real life yet, only in pictures, but I can't believe.
Well, when you start seeing it in real life,
cracked open,
it's incredible. It's just an incredible experience.
Sorry, so I'll let you show.
First thing I'll do. So I've been photographing these things in on the south coast of South Australia for 10 years. Yeah. Noticing these entities that show themselves within the ley lines are doing it on purpose, because they not only do they exist within that fifth dimensional space, but they want to be noticed, and they were trying to get my attention so I would notice the ley lines. So I really feel that this was shown to me for a reason. Wow. So before I share screen, I'll just show you one thing that just blew my mind when I read this book. So one of the first pictures that Alfred Watkins, he was an early photographer, shows. He talks about all the different ways of knowing where the ley lines are. Most of his, apart from the vision he had, most of his expeditions were using divining rods to find where the ley lines are. And then there's all these obvious places where people have put up either big stones, which gets even more interesting. I'll talk about that in a minute, or they put big mounds up of earth. And that's where he knew that the folklore was that there were that ley lines must have been in the area, because all these things sort of seem to line up. But there's just one photograph that he shows that I'll try and show here, and hopefully you guys can see that reasonably well.
Yeah, bring it in a little bit closer if you can.
A little bit closer.
Yeah.
Just above.
Yeah, that's good.
There's a round circle. You can see a round circle in nature.
Oh, yeah.
Photographed
it. Yeah.
He doesn't mention it, but he's photographed it. He's actually got a photograph. And
wow.
where that little stone is where the portal would be. Where they think the portal was, where they've tried to mark it. So it's very close to the spot. And it's interesting. This is the top. This is the flat part up the top here, this photograph. And you can see another one. You can see where the coming in, or the ley lines coming in. So it's there. It's there in the 1925 book.
Now, can I just stop you again? Because now you taught us in the, I think the best way you explained it to me was you're like, kind of do like, don't stare but lazy eye. So yes. like if you're looking at a magic eye, or like there's other optic illusions where you flutter your eye or look at your nose, but
so the idea is to have relaxed vision, and I also teach in the course how to see auras, and it's the same process. You need to relax your vision. So the vision that we have, it's too focused. So people who are myopic would probably find it quite easy if they just took their glasses off and stood out in nature. They might notice the ley lines a little bit more clearly. But when you let your eyes go slightly cross-eyed, and then pull them back so you're not got double vision, that's when you've got relaxed vision. You're not focused, but you're not cross-eyed either. It's in between. And so that's how you can see it. So you might feel the energy, or you might notice there's something different about a spot that you're in, then allow the relaxed vision to come in and you'll pick it up. But the beauty is cameras pick it up too.
Yeah.
So you might not even notice it, but you'll see it later. And this is the beauty too. When you look at a photograph from a distance too, the portals are much more obvious. So when I'd get home, if I hadn't picked up that I was taking photographs of the portals or ley lines during the session, I would notice if you know, the photograph was up on my computer and I walked away and walked back in the room, oh my God, there's one right there. I just didn't notice it because I wasn't looking at it the right way.
Yeah.
So I
would explain it like if you think of like theta brainwave or like get into meditative state, it's almost like meditative state, but with the eye, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Yeah, it is. It's just a different kind of vision. So it's interesting, you know, again, people might notice there's a fuzzy line. If you let your eyes go out of focus, you'll notice there's a fuzzy line around my shoulder, which is part of the etheric aura. And it's roughly about that thick. It's about an inch wide around the shoulder and around the head. And I've got this black chair behind me now, which makes it a bit harder to see. But yeah. So if you can let your eyes go out of focus enough to see the etheric around somebody and practice with somebody against a light background, that really helps. And in sunlight helps as well. Then you'll be able to see the ley lines. And looking at trees against a skyline on a sunny day, if you let your eyes go out of focus, you'll see the etheric of the tree as well. That's another really good way to practice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Geez, okay. So anyway.
So I'll just share. Now, what I'm going to share is something from a video that was getting around just recently. I won't share my own pictures because that's for the course, but this is really freaky. So I just wanted to share this because it shows it so clearly. So this is the Oracle of Delphi. This is obviously a crossing of ley lines. There's the circle, obviously, that marks out the portal that the place is built in. There's a ley line here. So if you let your eyes go out of focus, you can see it.
Got it.
I think there might be one over here, but it's not very clear. So that's a crossing over of very large ley lines. So these are larger than normal. So the meridians and the chakras of the body are mirrored. And this would be up your alley, Dale. In the earth has chakras and meridians as well. Meridians being the ley lines and the portals being her chakras. So I just wanted to show from this particular video. I don't have rights to this video either. This belongs to somebody else who created it. This is the Vatican, another big portal space. Why would you do that? Why would you create a big circle? It would be so difficult to create that with the architecture. They've done it for a reason. They're marking out.
You're saying the architecture, it is built purposely completely over the portal. It's showing you where the portal is.
Precisely, showing you exactly where it is. And I've noticed there's lines, so they might be actually marking some of the ley lines coming in. Obviously, it's not a place in nature, so I can't see where the ley lines are you can mostly only see them in nature because plants and trees don't want to grow within the fifth dimensional space. They must not like it for some reason, so they avoid it, and that's why you get the tunnels. That's the Washington Monument. Again, it's marked, and interesting, all these walkways coming in. That's another interesting.
I've never seen the circle at the bottom. I've never even taken notice of that.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So it wasn't until I saw this video that it sort of suddenly made sense to me, because he does talk about these being dome centers. He calls them dome centers in the video. I do share the video in my course as well, so you can see the full thing. There was another. So stadiums. So
wow,
they do the same thing. So as I was mentioning with Alfred Watkins' book, he talks about the sacrificial stones along the ley line spaces, and on the mounds they have these sacrificial stones. So they were sacrificing people within the ley lines millennia ago, and they're still doing it now. But they're doing it at places like Bathurst. These what is it, the big football thing in America where they do a lot of
that would give credence to the stories we've heard about the Super Bowl, where they would use it as a guise to bring in certain corporates and do things, right? Because it's built on the portal.
So that's basically just what I wanted to show today, just to give a bit of an outline of. It's amazing. It's just freaky. If I hadn't picked up this book, I wouldn't have had a further confirmation. And you're amazing, because you sent me a little video about Bora circles as well, which is the Australian original people. They know where these things are. You sent me that video, and it shows a portal really clearly in the video, that they're obviously in a portal space.
Well, this is what me and Madeline were talking about, that it makes a lot of sense when we're talking about when the ancients were traveling, right? They were traveling by foot, and how did they know where the song lines were? It's because they could visually see them. They knew,
Yeah.
they could see where they were, right? So
Yeah, yeah. I think also when they call them song lines, they also call them dream lines, but I think the song lines might also indicate that there might be some sort of audible sense, or they can feel the frequency, because it's a different frequency to third dimensional frequency. It's higher. It's much higher. Oh, and that was another interesting thing in this book. I'm learning so much from this guy. They would take, now people didn't understand why it was a tradition. I know now. But I've always known that, you know, when they do a cult sacrifice in these spaces, they do it because it brings in demonic entities, and the killing of the animal or the child opens a doorway to let the entity that they want to bring up in. In the book, he talks about how it was a tradition in England to take bodies of the loved ones in their coffin and stop by a mark stone, which was, the mark stones are in the ley lines, and they didn't really know why they were doing it, but they would stop by a mark stone, and then they would move on to take the body to the cemetery. Now, I can tell you now they were doing that because traditionally they would have known that that was the way, that was the avenue for that soul to then get to the dimension that it needed to go after death. It's just a quicker way to get it to where it needs to be. So when we pass over, we would find our way to a doorway or a portal or something along those lines. We'd be shown a way to get back to whatever dimension we meant to go to.
So it was probably an important ritual that you took you took the body along the line, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
do you know what it's just made me think of too? Because I reckon the Rockefellers owned the UN building in New York. They purchased that, and it was built over a slaughterhouse, which was originally a slaughterhouse in New York. But have you seen? I'll have to Google it, but I'm pretty sure the UN building is a big circle as
Oh,
well.
there you go. Yeah, God's sake.
So it
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing too. When you've got a slaughterhouse or somewhere where a lot of sacrifices occur, it amplifies that energy. So of course they'd want to own something like that and put some sort of monolith over it, because it amplifies the energy and the ability to get through to these demonic entities that they seem to get power or control over. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right. So as far as your course, this is is this just one part of it, right?
yeah, this is just the ley line aspect. So this, I also talk about energetic protection, how to, you know, make sure that you don't get attachments, the ways to use resonance and vibration to protect yourself from those sorts of things. Obviously, I teach people how to see auras, and I have a whole classification system that I've known since I was a child of what people's soul frequency is and how that relates to hue and vocation and life purpose. So we all have a soul color. And so I've obviously told you what yours is previously. And it's I guess some people might say that's synesthesia, because I'll just get a name of a person and I can figure out what their soul frequency is. And it's synesthesia is where you get two senses that cross over. So people might hear the word ice cream and see a color, or see a word and get a color or something for it. I don't believe it's synesthesia though, because I'm very accurate with my diagnosis of people's soul frequencies, whether I can see their aura or not, because I do a lot of this diagnosis work over the phone. So the resonance of the voice can also give away someone's soul frequency. So yeah, so there's that classification system that also helps people to work out what their soul frequency is and what sort of vocations and interests they might have, and what their life purpose is in relation to that. So yeah, there's sort of three main areas that I'm teaching.
That's made me think of too that you know, some of those autistic savants, I've heard them explain, you know, the ones that are really good at music, that they see notes as colors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so I get, so you're training people how to do all this stuff, and they basically I mean, it's helping with their own sovereignty, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think I've been trying to sort of work out, why do I feel this intense need to teach people about these ley lines and portals? And I think number one is it's because this is our history and it's been hidden from us. The Satanists have co-opted it, and they're using the Earth's meridians and portals to do evil things. And I don't think we're going to win this war unless we take that energy back over. So I think at some point I'll get some sort of download about why I have to share it, but we're taking that energy and that power back for good, and taking it away from them. Because I think it's hurting the earth, the fact that they're actually using her energy space to do these dreadful things.
I mean, yeah, that I always go back to that. Think of the trauma of the earth, like what that being itself is trying to, you know, facilitate for us, is like, that's crazy when you think of it. But it makes me think too, when when people talk about the, like there's a real concern with the loss of ancient language and particularly,
Yeah,
the First Nations people here, the song and the dance and all that stuff. Well, it's never really lost because it's always
yeah,
in these lines, right? It's,
yeah, yeah, exactly. So
if they kind of come back to balance, that none of that's lost. It's all there to come back.
well, that is actually the repository for the Akashic record. It's the energy lines. So people keep talking about, what's hidden under the Vatican. Maybe there's part of that Akashic that's sort of held there or been co-opted there by them. But it is, I believe, because people think about it, the Akashic's like a database of all actions, thoughts, events, past, present, and future for Earth and for all beings on Earth. But that is all that information. The database itself is the ley lines and the portals. So if people want to connect with their higher self, for instance, or if they want to connect with their spirit guides, you're going to have much more success and you have to put protection around yourself before you do this. But if you find a ley line or a portal to sit within, and also while you're doing it, have a very positive intent towards, loving energy. If you're pouring loving energy into that, that's also going to stop some of this co-opting and this evil energy that the Satanists are pouring into it. Yeah.
It's I mean, even one level of this war, that the battle really is over the ley lines too, because it's almost like if you look at the human body, it's like it's diseased because it's like it's been getting like all this negative shit put into it, and it just needs to be opened up and to let the natural energy run through.
Every single illness that happens in the physical body can be healed through the soul and by clearing chakras and energy systems. So the proof of the fact that this is so important is the fact that they put all their frigging arenas in these portals. They've put all their monoliths in these portals. They do all these sacrifices in these spaces. And they've been doing it through every culture. I'm sure that the Mayan temples and all of those other places where and possibly the pyramids are part of a portal in Egypt. So they've been using these energies for so long, but we're not allowed to know about it. So I found 2 books on ley lines, 2.
Yeah, that's tripped me out about the arenas too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why
So that's where they're picking up that loose energy and they're sending it to the wrong
and you
dimension.
go back to the cult. So like even the word arena actually means sand. So it's kind of, I can see why they would want to do that too with the like sand and silica.
Oh, of course, the quartz.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the other thing too, as we've already discussed this, because you did a video and I could see ley lines behind you and you're on a quartz seam. So any areas where there's a lot of quartz, you're going to have much more ability to visually pick up on these ley lines and portals, because it amplifies the energy. They're more obvious.
So can I ask if I mean, you don't need to name anyone, but have you got any like positive feedback from people that have done it in the
Oh,
past,
yeah.
and how they're applying it now? Like, how's that been for you, being able to teach people? And I mean, it's even better when you can teach people and they can teach others, right? And
Exactly. It's just been overwhelming, because I've been sitting on this for 10 years thinking there's something really significant about this information, but I don't know how to get it out to people. And I was too scared to go out and sort of really let people know that I was a psychic. I've spoken about it a little bit over the years that I've been speaking out publicly, but not a lot. And then it's just like, oh, I'm sick of this. I've got to be who I really am. And who I really am is this psychic individual. Yes, I had this horrible childhood, but that's just part of my life. This is my passion. My passion is teaching, helping people, helping them find their life purpose. And this information, I think, is pivotal to us winning this war. There's so many different things that all have to happen at once. We've just got to change these 5 different areas: education, judiciary, medicine, the foods, the way that we treat children. All of those things have to change, but we also have to change the way that the energy is being manipulated. And I know we're going to win this. So I don't have any qualms about the future, even with all the stuff that's going on at the moment, all the scary, scary stuff. We are definitely going to come out of this in a positive way. And I know that because I've been seeing all these gold-souled people coming in, children and stuff, since 2015, heralding this Satya Yuga, this golden age. But we need people like you warning people about what the other situation could be, Dale. It's extremely important. I get shown all the positive stuff of where we're going.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I'll just say, because I've noticed your energy change like in the last couple of years too, and I don't know if it's maybe that, like, you've been doing this sort of work for a long time, but I think just the fact that you've done it done it publicly is a real, it kind of balances all the other stuff you've done, you know, having to delve for so many years into your own story and all the work you've done there. Not that you're still not doing that, but I see it. Yeah, it's
Well, I've healed a lot because there's so much of what I wasn't allowed to talk about, I had to suppress. And by speaking out publicly, most of my health problems have disappeared. There's still things coming up because there's still memories coming up. But for the majority of what I've gone through,
But can you explain
I'm
that,
healed.
like that liberating kind of feeling
Yeah.
for you? And like, has it a lot of it been to do with this, with the work you're doing now?
Yeah, it has. Yeah. So basically by speaking out, I got to a higher frequency. So I got more confident in being able to speak about the things I needed to talk about. And it's just a snowball effect. So I'm now at a point where I feel completely and utterly fulfilled. My life is fulfilled. And it wouldn't matter to me if I got taken out tomorrow, because I've done exactly what I came here to achieve, but I actually get more time now and I can do more. So this is where I get to do the fun stuff.
How
So
cool.
that's probably why you see my frequency has come up, because I'm
I
not
love
stuck
it.
in that victim situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's not like you just woke up and did it one day. It's been a progression for you, hasn't it?
Oh yeah.
To get
It's
to that point.
taken years. Yeah. I first started sort of going on social media, grizzling about what happened to me and speaking out to authorities in 2005, 2006. So it's been a long progression, but I've certainly come out the other side. Yeah. So that's why the energy has changed. And look, the energy has changed for a lot of people. Everybody seems to be going to a higher frequency together. And I'm seeing this in so many of the people that I speak to, going up levels. Normally a soul might progress one level in a lifetime. And even that was reasonably rare until about 5 years ago. And suddenly people are going up levels within 6 months, 12 months, they might go up a couple of levels. I've never seen anything like it.
I
It's
know
amazing.
I've been having conversations with a couple of people who really woke up to like almost everything like a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the understanding that we're talking, I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. It's amazing.
It is. See, that's what gives me so much hope, because we can't be doing that if we're going to be going into this dark period. We're coming out of the dark period. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's it's so amazing. I don't even know what to ask you now. So look, how long can you tell me? Yeah, how long's the course run for?
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so tell me what it involves. Like how many times a week? How long it
Cool.
runs for?
So there's still some spots left in the November course. It starts on the 3rd. It's on a Friday night, 6:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. It runs for 4 weeks on the Friday evening, and it's about an hour and a half for each class. Usually there'll be a little bit of time afterwards for questions and answers. The last session, so the first session's on ley lines, learning how to commune with spirit guides, identify things like fairy entities, shadow entities, angelic entities, using energetic protection. So that's the first session. Second week, we talk about how to read auras, which is really exciting because it's not as hard as people think. It's actually extremely easy. And I will also talk about soul colors and frequencies and how what they relate to. Most people's favorite color is their soul color. It doesn't work across the board. It's not that simple. So people who are high frequency pink souls usually like turquoise and green, which is really confusing for me because it makes it hard to diagnose for me. But
well, you're in green today, usually in purple, aren't you?
Yeah. But my favorite color
you look good in that color, actually. I like it on you. Yeah.
Thank you, Dale. Yeah, so that's the second week. Third week, we really go deeply into what that soul frequency means for that person, what their abilities are, because there's certain, if you are really into that sort of indigo color, usually are an indigo child, you'll have psychic ability, but you won't necessarily be able to see the future. But if you're into violets and you're a violet soul, you'll be able to see all those things. You'll have all the abilities of an indigo soul, but also be able to see the future. Then you get up to the higher levels, the whites, the golds, the pinks, and even higher than that. And those are when you get into the really freaky psychic abilities, you know, being able to remote view, energetic healing, those sorts of things. So that's why I think that's important information for people to learn, because they know then, well, I'm at this frequency and my passion is that. I didn't think I could do it because I thought that there are all these, you know, we get all this logic and all these parameters that get in the way, and people are saying, you can't do that. And so you get past that and you see, this is what my life purpose is, and then you can follow it. And then in the fourth session on the last week, we just basically get together and I answer questions. So any questions that people haven't had answered in the first 3 sessions, they can just throw at me, and it's usually pretty good fun because people are more relaxed. They've got to know each other by that session. And
Yeah, that's really cool. And it's quite I mean, it's quite quick, isn't it? Within 4 weeks. So people can walk, within a month. And
I got a bunch of photos today from one course member who's just gorgeous, and she can see. So she sent me a whole heap. She'd found some ley lines on a portal. That's really exciting. I get pictures every day of people seeing the fairy entities in nature. So that's really cool. Yeah. So it's pretty wonderful. And people saying, I read an aura the other day and I couldn't believe it. And now I can see it around everybody. And yeah, it's wonderful.
all right, I have to ask this question or Mum's gonna shoot me. Now Mum goes on repeating the same stories over and over and over again. I've heard this one a million times, but she has wrote it down. You don't mind answering?
No, I don't mind answering. No.
Now, yeah, so I'll just preferencing this. So I think it's kind of like a shared ability in my family, because I used to astral project as a kid. I can't anymore.
Central heterochromia.
Yeah, it might be that. But yeah, my uncle's same. Well, my uncle used to see a lot of spirits and stuff too, like flat out. My older brother as well. And Mum used to astral project. But anyway, so she just said during the night she'd see big balls of fluff. This is when she was living with her parents when she was young. I don't know what age.
Okay.
That came into my bed, and I floated through the air with them, and I could go anywhere all the way through the side. I went all the way to the side of Dad's bed. I had to go past Mum to go to Dad. So she made a real point of this. This happened many times when I was a child. So she said she would go past her mum, but she'd always go to her dad.
Wow.
So, yeah, she wants to know, what does that mean?
Okay.
So,
all right.
She'd appreciate that.
Balls of fluff, that to me sounds like it would be something that would be possibly a light, like an orb, or something that was light. Because if this is in the dark, I'm assuming that the ball of fluff had some sort of illumination, which tells me that's probably something that's a light entity and gentle and positive. I would say it was a guide, and it was allowing her to escape her body to go and do this, the foray to go and see her dad. Maybe she was more connected. She had a closer connection to her father.
This is the thing that she wanted to keep knowing. Like, why she goes, why did I go to Dad all the time? She always went to her dad, so she doesn't. Yeah.
Well, that as soon as you said it, I felt like she had a greater soul connection to her father than her mother. So we choose our parents before we come down here. But quite often, if we know that we really want to be with this particular soul, but the other parent is not one of our soul group, we'll still go to be with the
Mum looks very much like her father. She got the same.
Okay.
Nothing really like her mum. She's more like her father, so that does make sense as well.
Yeah.
There's one more. As a small child, during the night, the bedroom would be full of snakes. So she said she's not asleep. She said she was awake, right? So she kept stressing that point to me. The bedroom was full of snakes of different shapes and sizes. The room was full of them at night, up to the ceiling. The snakes were going through the walls. I would lie there still and they would move around me but not touch me.
Wow. Was she terrified?
I don't know. I should have asked her more, but I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
See, that to me sounds like she was in a portal space, because this is the thing. People need to know where these things are so they don't build their houses in them, because you don't want to live in this space because you've got all these other dimensions coming in. If it was terrifying, I would say it was some sort of entity or entities wanting to terrify her out of her psychic ability at an early age, to switch it off. And that does happen to children. If she wasn't terrified, I'd say she was just simply observing all the other entities that are actually in the space with her. And in that particular instance, they were coming through as snake-like, which is really interesting.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. Well, Mum actually told me after her dad died, my grandfather, that he appeared to her as well, but he appeared as like a musketeer. So it wasn't him, but she knew it was him, if you know what I mean.
That's interesting. I wonder if he was really flamboyant and if that was
not really.
Like
he was very,
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, like I think I told you too, like the day after he passed away, we went to his house and the TV that he'd had for about 40 years just stopped working that day. And then we went into the bedroom and there's like a big bird in the bedroom that there's no way it could have gotten there. There was no windows open, nothing. And it's just, so there was a lot of weird stuff there. Yeah.
Did the bird fly out?
Can't remember.
Okay.
I have to ask
Because animals can come as emissaries to free a soul. It's actually a spirit guide that comes in animal form, and it comes to frees the soul from that area. So if the person doesn't trust whatever guide comes through, and maybe they don't get a guide that comes through and opens the portal for them or the doorway for them to get to one of these ley lines to move on, animals or birds can come in. Birds are really common. So I think maybe that was an emissary there.
Yeah, cool. Okay. All right. Well, I'll put that put that aside. There you go, Mum.
Good on you, Mafalda. Any other questions, just throw them at me, darling. I'll answer them.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, like, yeah, I know when I still have such a vivid memory of. I remember the exact house. I remember where I was sitting, and I think I kind of must have known that it was like my little secret, because I used to wait till I was alone, and it was instant. I would just go, I can fly, and
Oh, wow.
I would just leave my body, and I would float around, and then I knew when to come back, and I could just come back into my body as soon as I chose to do so. But
No
and
wonder you're such a
I,
traveler.
I remember doing that for years, and then it just stopped. But this
Okay.
is a conversation I had with you, because around, I think the imagination is such key, because I remember watching The Boy Who Could Fly when I was about 4, and around
Yeah.
the same time, Mum read me the book Matilda, and this is where, what's the word where you can move objects?
Telekinesis or
Telekinesis.
psychokinesis. Yeah.
Yeah. So she, in the book, starts. She realized that she has this telekinesis ability, and so as a child, I just believed that that was true, right? Because it's, there's no such thing as fiction. And I think that to me, what I've told myself, it was my belief in my ability that I could do it, that I could do it.
Yes.
And then kind
Yes.
of once I realized reality, or what we think is reality, then it was blocked.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, it's interesting. We get into the education system around 5 years old, and then we're really forced to think in a left-brained way, and the right brain is the intuitive side. So once you start doing that to a child, that will often sort of shut off. And also you'll have people around them saying, that's your imagination, that's not real. And it shuts off all those amazing sort of psychic portals. But yeah, telekinesis and psychokinesis are an element of the gold soul frequency, which I've told you before, you've reached that level. So it does not surprise me that you have that ability, and it would come back, Dale, if you are willing to allow it to. So one thing I also have shown in the course, the last one, is that you can have, so I've done a little telekinesis experiment that I shared in the group, where you just get a little flywheel. If you look up telekinesis experiments on YouTube, you'll see lots of people doing this. It's not that unusual. What's amazing is the children that I've seen doing, you get a little cork or something like a piece of blue tack, you put a pin on it and put a little circle of alfoil or a circle of paper, and you put your hands around it, and you use your energy and your aura to spin the piece of paper or the alfoil. And you've got to make sure you've got no wind in the room, otherwise that will interfere with it. It's much harder to try and spin it if you're working against wind coming in. And also make sure your breath isn't influencing it. It's not difficult. And if you focus, you can actually see your aura coming out, the etheric part of the aura interacting with it and pushing it around. So children have actually done it with a dome of glass over the top. I can't do that yet. So there's absolutely no chance that there's any air movement or anything else that's interfering. I can't get my head around it yet, but I'm practicing.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's piercing I mean, like, yeah, like I guess it's like the Neo thing with the spoon, right? There is no spoon, because it's if you
Precisely.
know that everything is just waveform information fields, and they're all, whatever we call gravity or whatever matter is, it's just different fields pushing against each other. And if you can interact with that,
All
yeah,
you need to do is learn quantum physics to know that the world around us is not real. It is not physical. It's a bunch of atoms that are racing around in space that create matter. There's more empty space than there is matter or atoms. It's so perplexing. So it is a simulation of sorts. But while we're in it, we really believe that it's all real and hard, and we can't control it, but we can.
yeah. Do you think having that understanding helps with people's ability too? Because
Definitely.
it's like,
Yeah.
because I think it's more that your acceptance of what's possible, because when you come from that understanding, it's like everything's possible, right?
Yeah, this is the really
Everything's
interesting
possible.
thing. I spoke about this in a couple of interviews recently, so I'm not scared to speak about it anymore. But as a child, when I was being experimented on, tested under theta psychic programming, I would be told under a hypnotic state that I had already expressed this ability to move things around with my mind, or to remote view, or to pick up on people's soul frequencies. I'd already done it. And so there was no reason why I couldn't do it. And if I didn't actually do it, I would get tortured. I was told later by my father, I didn't have those abilities before they told me I did. I did it because I was told, and it was under duress, that if I didn't do it, something horrible would happen. So, and I'm not advocating for that at all, but we have abilities that are just through the roof. And I really believe my father chose my mother to breed with because she had central heterochromia. And there's all this whole folklore and Nazi experimentation around it.
Your father had it as well?
No, he had ordinary blue eyes. Blue eyes are very ordinary.
Yes,
Central heterochromia is very rare.
So, have you got was it Doug that had those documents? Can you send them to me?
Yeah, I will.
I'll post them on. I'll post
them.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I did actually send
what's the percentage of people that have got that? I think you've told me before it's quite low, isn't it?
It's well, some of the stats say 1% of 1%. It's 1 in 200 in Caucasian countries. Right. So it's not, I keep saying, I've said in previous interviews that it's hazel-eyed. It's not hazel-eyed, but we often get diagnosed as having hazel eyes. In actual fact, it's not. It's something very different. So 1 in 200, it's more common in females than it is in males. So of that 1 in 200, only a third of that 1% will actually be male. It's very, very rare in men.
I always thought I had hazel eyes. That's what.
So did I. I grew up being told that I had hazel eyes, and now I know why I was being experimented on this way, and why the siblings in my family who had the same eye color as me went through the same training.
So okay, so if we go a little bit deeper into that, the question is, like, who are these people that have this eye color or that eye type? Who and what are they, right? So
mostly Celtic.
And why? Sorry,
it's mostly Celtic. So most of the brown-eyed people are obviously the Asians, and those sorts of races. So it's the Celtic races that have the central heterochromia. And the Nazis were experimenting on gypsies who had this eye color. But it's interesting; it can be acquired. It can be acquired in some people who have a certain health problem, Waardenburg syndrome, and there was another syndrome, I can't remember the name of it. But that actually develops over time, whereas people like us are actually born with it. So yeah, the Nazis that were experimenting on it didn't have the right subjects. My father was absolutely obsessed with the Nazis. He's had every book you could possibly have on the Nazis in the Second World War. My previous boyfriend was he was also obsessed with the Second World War. Funny that I happened to end up with him. And I remember he saw my father's book collection. He just lost it because he'd been searching for these particular books that my father had in his little book collection at Stansbury. He'd been searching, through the Bristow Smith Library and many other libraries trying to find these books, and my father had them. So my father was really obsessed with the Nazis and what they were experimenting on. And he was involved with it. He was involved with the MK Ultra program in Australia.
Wow. It almost makes me think too, if if you look at the eye as a galaxy, which it's a compression of the galaxy, which it appears to be, if a galaxy is what we think it is, but then would these this particular eye pigmentation or type be a representation of a certain galactic system or beings?
Oh, that's amazing. That's really interesting.
I don't know, I'm just asking.
Well, I'm thinking of the Eye of God constellation. I'm wondering, I don't know if they call it a constellation, but I'm wondering if that's actually got bands of color. I'll have to have a look for it. Yeah. But yeah, that's a really good point.
Who knows, eh? But
yeah. Well, it's certainly a window to the soul, but some people have different abilities. I do wonder if it's got something to do with the reptilian or the Rh negative bloodline factor. So
well, that's I remember when Christine Fitzgerald, if people believe what she said when she spoke to David Icke, and they were talking about Diana. So she was Diana's friend.
Okay.
And they said that they chose Diana, and a lot of it was due to her eye. Well, it was her DNA, but it was her eye color, and because they needed.
Oh my God!
They needed an infusion of Diana, whatever her, she was blue eyes, but they needed an infusion of that DNA into the royal bloodlines, basically to keep them vibrating at a frequency that would allow them to stay within this realm. And
Oh,
that's
wow.
why I've kind of always, because, you know, people go, oh, Dinah's, she's buddy whatever because she was part of the royal family. I don't believe that. I believe they
No.
handpicked. It's like Rosemary's Baby kind of shit. They handpicked
Yeah.
her to come in, which I know that's because this hasn't been popular, but I've been saying this about Harry for the whole time. I think like Harry's going to be a huge part. That's why he got out. He got out to expose them. That, you know, that's what
Well,
I.
I'm going to have to look into her eye color now because.
Well, she's blue eyes.
But blue-eyed people can have central heterochromia. I know a very highly
so
psychic SRA survivor who's got blue and yellow eyes.
right.
So she may have the yellow. Yeah, that's fascinating. I'll have to look at Harry's too. Oh, isn't that interesting? Yeah, so that's got some sort of connection to them being able to sort of hold on to the physical body. Wow.
Yeah.
From her body language, every time I saw anything of her on the news as a kid when she was, you know, during her heyday in the family, her body language said she did not want to be there. She did not look like a happy person.
Yeah.
You know, and you see people like Fergie were always big smiles and she just seemed to be loving it. You know, it could be personality, but I don't think so. I just don't think she was meant to be there.
Did I ever tell you what at the end of Harry's book what happens? Do you want to tell you? Oh,
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. I actually really enjoyed the book. Everyone was making fun of me for reading it, but anyway. So they escape to Canada, Harry and Meghan, and he gets a Christmas present from the royal family in the mail. He opens it up. It's an ornament, and it's an ornament of the Queen. It was given to him by the Queen as a Christmas present. So they put it up on the Christmas tree, and his little kid Archie or whoever it is, he got the ornament and he smashed it. By accident, he broke it.
Okay.
Now Harry goes and sees a psychic medium, and he said, you know, I don't know about all this stuff, blah blah blah, but you know, I've always felt my mum's here. And anyway, so he went and saw her, and he kind of gives the indication that it's Christine Fitzgerald, who was Diana's friend. He doesn't say, but there's some indications in there. Anyway, then he says that the psychic says, your mum is here in the room with you now. She's always been here. And your mission hasn't even started, but you're about to go on this mission. And she's really proud of you, blah, blah, blah. And she said, oh, and by the way, that thing that happened with the Christmas tree. And she goes, yeah. And then she goes, your mum had a great chuckle about that. And basically the symbolism that the Queen has been smashed and destroyed, right?
Yeah.
It was a bizarre book if you read the layers of because I think he's put that book out, but that it's very multi-layered depending on your understanding of how you read it.
Or just the way that they were so villainized. To me, it could be just bread and circuses. We're supposed to be, no, look over here, don't look over here. It could be that, but it could also be that they literally are exposing something that the royal family doesn't want exposed. I keep thinking of, you know, Meghan getting around with that prosthetic tummy and it falling down and that being photographed. I mean, how was it that even got out? They could have gone after those photographers and stopped that from getting out there. That was freaky.
But I mean, even the stuff like when Kate had the first kid and she literally comes out wearing the Rosemary's Baby dress.
Oh God.
Like they're telling you, and then like, you know, William's the 1000th Knight of the Round Table. He's all these things tying in. It's just bizarre. But anyway, we've gone a bit off track there.
We're still talking about psychics. So
sorry.
I wanted to ask you too about the your Sky to Earth. So you've got that coming up as well.
Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
We are starting. So we're not going to run the same night as you.
Yeah, thank you.
We're starting in November 16th, I think.
16th, yeah. Awesome.
So I'm just going to put out like a promo video this week once I can do it. It's really cool. The last one, everything just kind of molded into it. It kind of took I didn't know it was going to go that way. Neither did Madeline. That's kind of how we both, that's why I like working with her, because it just kind of takes a life of its own.
I love the way you run it because it's so relaxed. It's not too formal. You feel like you're in the lounge room with you and Maddie and talking to these amazing people and you feel like you're there. And that's what I think is really beautiful about it.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah. But yeah, look, it just couldn't have gone any better. And I think this one's going to be it's gonna be awesome too. We got different presenters on this time that we're going to announce soon too, and I've already seen these themes coming up. It's so I think it's going to go a lot deeper.
Oh, so excited to see
If
Max
that's
Vaughan
possible.
in there too. That's so cool.
Yes,
Yeah.
we got. Yeah, I can say Max is joining us, Max Lowen, and so thanks for connecting us because she's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's going to add a beautiful energy to it. She's just a beautiful soul.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've loved the last few years, Rachel. Is just all the, all these amazing people that we've like connected with, and I've found people through you and vice versa.
Likewise.
It's all just it's beautifully playing out.
Well, it meant so much to me to share my information with the ley lines in your group with the Sky to Earth Academy, because through that, I've learned so much more about what these things are. I knew I had to get this information out. I just didn't know why it was so important. Now I've got a really good idea why it's so important. So if it wasn't for you and you just synchronicitously, just out of the blue asked me, which is so perfectly timed, like today, asking if I wanted to get together and talk about this, perfectly timed, within a minute of me thinking, oh yeah, I wonder if I need to do this, and then you just contacted me. So yeah, I just love that about you, Dale. You're always spot on.
It's happened a few times, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. It's uncanny.
So and then like I won't talk to you for like ages, and then it's
yeah, and just at the right moment.
Do you know what I've always loved about good friendships, and it's when no one's ever a burden on the other. Like when you don't need to talk. I could not talk to you for a year, right?
Yeah,
I'm not worried like is something gone wrong or that's. And then when when it's time to connect, it's time to connect. It's
like no time has passed. Yeah, that's a true friendship.
I agree. All right. Well, okay. So give us your. We might end it, but yeah, give us your final plug for your course, the dates.
Oh yeah. So
and then I'll put the link below here too, so people if they want to join.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so there's still some spaces left for November, and also if you want to join up for January, it's good fun. You'll learn a lot, and by the end of it, you should be able to see ley lines in nature yourself and read auras and have ways to energetically protect yourself, which is really important right now. And very simple methods, very simple. All you need really is a tuning fork. And your intent and your positive intent, and and also finding out what your life purpose is, based upon your resonance and your frequency.
Yeah, cool. So is there any prerequisites for the course? Go by
No. Initiated, uninitiated, doesn't really matter. Just come in. If you have an interest in it, if it's something that you think you find interesting, then that's all you really need.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Well, I think I told you that I was going to do this one, but I'm you're doing it in January. I might do it then because
cool.
Yeah. I'm just like bombarded with stuff at the moment as much as I'd love to do it, but I will.
No, that's all cool. That's all cool.
Yeah, cool. All right, so I'm going to end this and press leave, so I'm not going to be rude, right? So
okay.
when I actually end it, I will like go, just because the text like playing up so much the last few days.
No
so I know when I do that, it starts loading. So don't want to be rude, but
no worries, Dale. Thank you again. Cool. You're a sweetheart.
All right. Well, have a great day, and people go join Rachel's course if that's something you're interested in. Just from the bit that you shared with us was unbelievable. So I know people get a lot out of it if they join.
Oh. Okay.
Cool. All right. Have a great day.
Take care, darling.
See ya. Bye.